Sam Britt, iServe Mortgage.
All right, we're
Thanks.
back.
I know. Thanks for coming on, Sam. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, creative offers right now. So I think that's what we were kind of thinking about chatting around this time is just different ways to win in offers. This is so fun for buyers.
Well, the thing is, I don't think they realize it. They immediately go like, rates are too high. I'm like, hold on, dude. How long have you been sitting on the sidelines with 2% rates and not being able to buy?
I just met buyers this morning. Same thing. I was like, buying is now fun again.
Yeah.
It really is. The last 2 years where people thought that was the market to succeed in, that was a brutal market. I'm meeting another lady at 5:30 today.
Yeah.
I was so beat out on for the last 2 years. I'm excited to get back into this process again. Now the changes, we can outsmart through offer writing the changes. There's ways to get around that. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But it's an exciting time for buyers just from a negotiating standpoint. They're in the driver's seat now.
I think it's a great thing. I think buyers, the knee-jerk reaction when I sit down with them is, oh, interest rates are going up. I said, but that's what's triggering the change, and you need it. You need this necessary evil. And I always say the same thing, and it's coming back, that coin that comes back around. You marry the home, you date the rate, right? In this case, divorce the rate, whatever the case is. Because how many people really keep that first loan? Right.
Well, and the average ownership of a home, I've done tons of videos of this, 7.96 years.
Okay.
That is the average ownership of a home.
And that's if you haven't touched the loan the first time for a refinance.
Right. So as long as you have, and the people can do refinance, but that gives you an idea of, the length of it, that the refinances can make sense, even if it's 5 years down the road, those type of things. But we can negotiate rates down.
Yeah.
With the seller. So that's really what's winning right now is these buy downs of discount points.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when we were talking earlier about how contracts are writing. Because on my side of the desk, I'll run the numbers for you guys because your agents are always asking me questions like, all right, run this number this way. So clearly you've coached them in the, hey, you can get more bang for your buck buying the rate down versus if you're going in at a lower offer.
And that's how we're keeping our buyers active too right now in the same way.
Yeah. So, talk to me a little bit about the contract writing.
Yeah.
So what are you doing?
So we have a couple of tricks right now. We'll talk about the down payment. You're going to bring that up.
Yeah.
But so we have two variables, right? We have, let's call it three: down payment, interest rate, and closing costs. That's the three things about a mortgage.
Yeah.
Well, right now we're negotiating all of them. So you can get sellers down on their prices, but the other things we can do right now is sellers are giving you money to buy down the rates. You know that, you've seen it.
Yep.
But we can get these down pretty far. What's the lowest you've seen rates get down to through negotiations right now? Let's say off of the baseline. Let's not say 8 points. But
okay, so the average person I see buying rates down are about 3 points, so give or take.
Okay.
Because it depends on the price point. But the bottom line comes down to if your interest rate today is 6 1/8, you're probably going to get that thing down to 5 3/4 easily.
Okay.
No problems at all. So to give you an example, the 100% financing, the down payment program in-house that my bank has, what I'm prepping your agents with is let's run with that, and if you can get down, you can get the rate buy down on top of it. Let's look at taking that rate from 6 1/4 or 6 1/8, and let's see if we can get it into the mid 5s. I mean, that's a win strategy in my opinion.
And before, where sellers called the shots, buyers call the shots now.
Yeah.
So now sellers are trying to get ahead of this next rate change that's coming up on July 27th.
Ooh, don't even started, man. That was rough.
Yeah. So sellers, if their agents are keeping them privy to this, are trying to get locked up before then so that their buyers can lock their rate.
And then that makes me wonder, like, how many agents really are educating their sellers?
I don't think
hey,
half the agents even know.
Because I think as soon as that puppy hits, we're going to go quiet for a brief moment because everybody on the other side of the fence is like, all right, let's see who's going to drop what first. You know what I mean?
Right, and it'll be the sellers that drop first.
Yeah.
It will. It's already been proven based on the last two that's what will happen. Sellers will adjust. It is what it is.
Yeah.
They have a lot of cushion because prices are up right now 15% from this time last year.
Yeah.
Prices are still up 15%. Are they the same as Q1? Absolutely not. Okay. But compared to last year, they're still at 15%.
Okay. How versed are you on inventory right now?
Right now it's level.
Okay.
It's level right now. So we've been increasing week after week after week. We're on average days on market right now is 31 days on market. This time last year, average days on market was 6.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you know off the top of your head where inventory was in 2019 before we dipped?
6 days of inventory.
Yeah.
And then right now we're back up in the 30 to 35 days of inventory.
Okay, so it's not too far off.
It's not. Well, I mean, in terms of percentages, inventory is up 305% right now.
Okay.
So, and then with the absorption rate and all of those type of things, it has profoundly changed.
Yeah.
Do we really start getting into like a buyer's market or, a casual buyer's market? We really have to get in like the 60s for absorption rates. We're not there yet, but it's coming. It's coming.
So you think it's coming?
More inventory and less absorption rate? Absolutely.
Well, I feel like it has to, right? I think I call it the grand finale. We have that point coming up on the 27th, and you and I were talking about. Now the question is, because the Feds are notorious for overcorrecting on everything they do.
Yeah.
Is this going to be too much and it's going to swing too far the other way? And then the September meeting, are they going to leave it alone?
It just depends on the results because when you're changing the numbers as fast, they don't even know if it's working.
Yeah.
They don't even know if they screwed it up.
Yep.
So it could also be like this exponential critical mass moment where it's like everything falls out at once and they're like, whoops,
Yep.
And it wouldn't surprise me.
Yep. Which is why I think you will have that brief moment where people just want to see like, okay, you just did it. So what happens in 30 days?
Yeah. Now in the interim, the biggest thing that we're seeing and why people are still buying, because people are buying, there were 65 homes sold last week. It's down 40% from last year. The units sold from last week alone. But the reason people are still moving is because a lot of them are renting.
Yeah.
A lot of them either have houses that they're using anyways. So when those markets change, it's not as influential as one would think. Renting, it's an easy win. You're giving your money to your landlord. It's a horrible idea. You're never going to see that money again. So it's easy to pivot that money into a mortgage where you have that equity savings account that we've talked in the past. Doesn't even matter what the real estate market's doing. You're paying down a mortgage that's building equity over time because of the reduced balance of the mortgage. That's a win alone over renting. Your homeowners that need to sell to buy, whatever their market's going to do, it's going to do to the house they're selling anyway. So all you're doing is moving, a pot of equity over to another pot of equity. The only argument there is how big is your differential in payment? If you're doubling your mortgage payment, sure, now you're getting back into that argument of interest rate matters, but with right negotiations, you can get that down.
So I was telling you, I met a gentleman who works over at Fidelity, manages the book of business with a bunch of clients up in Tahoe, and what they're doing is they're moving their assets around to start looking for deals. They want to start purchasing, and they're looking for the right stuff. So I mean, the way I look at it is that's how a lot of your big investors got into the business in the first place. So the fact that they're looking now tells me, why are we not doing it with the buyers? I mean, what are you doing? Are you doing something personally like that? Because I know that I'm looking.
I'm back into, because really most of our business the last 2 years was owner occupiers. Right. Renting is always an easy win to own over rent. So it doesn't matter what market that is. It's always better to own than rent. Now, in terms of the investing side, investing was different the last 2 years. It's either the 1031 people moving tax protection properties, or it's the person who had way too much cash in the bank who is now feeling the pain of inflation, the devaluation of their money over time. Those are the two groups of people that we were really seeing. Not the heavily leveraged investors, the ones that were cash heavy, were putting their stuff into real estate because it would ride inflation. Now that we're coming into this market, I mean, I'm in full-blown radar open on expanding investment properties. I see opportunity now because I believe I can get more aggressive in my offer strategy while still maintaining the stable rental market. The rental market's not crashing.
No, not especially with these rates
going. It is like, I haven't seen that rental data, but I would argue it's probably an opposite trajectory of what the home purchasing game is right now. Renting is just as strong as ever, and it's still a housing shortage, and it's not like the rental rates are changing like the purchase price rates are.
Well, it makes sense. If you have half the buyers jumping because they don't like where the rates are going, that means they're still renting, which means the landlords are still collecting.
Exactly, and rental rates are up. Rental rates are up. So that's where I see big cash flow opportunities right now is in rental property. So that's where my full focus is.
I know my big thing is, I call it the Willy Wonka golden ticket, the 2-unit. If I get my hands on a 2-unit, that's gold. And you know as well as I know, those are very hard to snag in our market and have been. But I think we're going to start seeing those opportunists come back. And if the investors are in, then the homeowners should be like, okay, there's something going on here. And I saw that in the last market when we were all a part of. And I promised myself I'm not going to miss that again. And I see it now. So we have full radar out looking for opportunities because they're here again. And they're going to continue to keep moving through this. So I'm with you on that piece. And I think somebody renting would be crazy not to, because if you've got your big guys doing the same thing, capitalize. The state just released their new down payment assistance program.
Yeah, let's talk about that because we talked about interest rate and we talked about closing costs because sellers are offering both.
Yeah.
Down payment.
So
new programs are back.
Yeah, so I think the investors for the most part just needed some time to, recalibrate how they were going to do these with their investors in Wall Street. But long story short, state came back and said, hey, we're going to do a silent second. It's tied to the property for 3 years and then it's fully forgivable after year number 3. So that's how they're getting around it. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, I've got enough for a closing cost but no down payment, the state's got them covered now.
Great.
So you've got that option. And then I know a few of us banks have now the in-house option for down payment assistance where you can even buy rate down.
How's the bump up going on those? What's it looking like?
You would think that it would be significantly higher because on the state it is higher. To be honest with you, if you go look at it, they're basing the interest rates by how much you take from them. Like I saw for a 4% grant on the state of Nevada, it was 7 1/8. Whereas like if you do it through an in-house program like ours or any other bank that might have a down payment assistance program, you're sitting at whatever FHA numbers are, which you're sitting at 5.8, 6 1/4.
And you said you're allowed to buy those down?
That's the game changer.
Because that didn't happen before.
No, on this one you can buy the interest rates down. So you can play the same game where like, I want to get to 5.5. What's it going to take to get to 5.5? I run the numbers, I give it to your agents, and they go and they chase it with the seller.
And then as an agent, we can offer accordingly to offset, which people felt like 3.5, 4 was normal. We all know it's not.
Yeah.
We've tried, people still feel like it's normal.
Yeah.
But we can still offer in ways to get the numbers to make it feel like that. We can offer aggressively and sellers are, I just had an REO agent beg me for an offer.
Oh, really?
That's never happened in 13 years. Like, hey, we'll give closing costs, please write me an offer. Like that literally happened yesterday. Yeah. When you have selling agents like that, there's negotiation to be had. Like it is fun to be a buyer right now.
Yeah.
You're in the driver's seat. It's a really fun change in the marketplace.
I would agree. I think the biggest thing is your sellers have more to lose because obviously they're like, hey, I got to get rid of this to get to my end goal. And as long as this is still floating out there with this market doing what it's doing, they're vulnerable. Whereas the buyer's like, I'm waiting. Let me see what your best offer is to me.
And that's true. And every negotiation we're doing right now, it's like that.
Yeah.
Unless you have the occasional, delusional listing out there, and they're out there.
Yeah.
But on the majority, right, brokers are educating their agents.
Yeah.
We're educating our agents to be like hat in hand on every buyer opportunity you get because every time you drag your feet, every time the rate changes, like I said this 2-3 months ago, it's not the buyers that should be nervous. It's the sellers that should be sweating these changes because they're the ones that take the hit. The buyers are going to have the same payment as they did January 5th. With a 3% interest rate as they do today because it's the sellers who take that compromise. Now, like I said, the prices are still up. Sellers are fine. We talked about real estate being a year analysis. Don't be week over week. That's the worst wrong way to analyze real estate. You worry about the year that you bought, you worry about the year that you sold, and then you be excited, right? You don't complain about what happened 3 months ago, 3 weeks ago. You just can't. You just can't think that way. I know when I'm looking that way on my own personal real estate, I bought in the bottom of the market.
Yeah.
So even if the market tanked another 15, 20%, I still made a grip of cash.
Yeah, same concept, right? Everybody who got in 6-7 years ago, those properties were under 300,000 that are now well over 6.
Right. So to say that I would have made more in March, sure, yes, I would have, but I'm still making a ton compared. So it's still an awesome investment.
Exactly.
You just can't sweat that day over day.
Yeah, I think we just got real comfortable with how quick real estate was appreciating, and they don't realize like that's not a normal effect.
Yeah, and that would have been a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
recipe for disaster.
Yeah. So I think it's good. You just got to be able to overcome the negative things that are being spouted about our housing.
And just as a buyer's and agent, remember those 3 things: the power of down payment, the power of being flexible on interest rate through negotiation, and then the power of helping through closing costs. Sellers are offering those all day, every day right now, and take advantage of that moment because it hasn't happened in 2-3 years.
My thing is, hey, if you know your job's not going anywhere, because your time is when your time in your family household is correct, not what the market is doing. If you know your job is stable and it's not going anywhere, you've got money in the bank, and you've got an agent that's going to give you the right deal, that's giving you that screaming, hey, they're paying for all my closing costs and I can afford the payment, then that means the universe is telling you it's your time to roll.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would have done this last year when rates were in the 2s. Clearly not your time.
Yeah.
So
secret today is get creative with your offer. It's not just about offering price anymore. Factor in being helped with the down payment, factor in helping with the interest rate, and then factor in help with the closing costs. Sellers are excited for your offers and frankly desperate for your offers. Take advantage of that moment.
Don't be afraid to ask.
Sam, thanks for your time.
Yeah. See ya.